Hi, everyone. Bill Fairman with Carolina Capital Management. I'm here with my sister, Wendy Sweet.
Hello.
And along with Jonathan Davis, the guy that actually does all the work here.
And has the brain.
That's right. Wendy and I just show up and smile most days. We have a guest
That's where you're
coming up.
supposed to say, that's not true. That's not true.
Oh, okay. That's not true, guys. That's not true at all.
So we have a great guest today, Dorian Carter. I'll bring him up in just a second. He's got very professional credentials, and one that makes me nervous is he's actually a professional broadcaster, has his own radio show.
That's right. He's good at this.
It's called the Commercial Real Estate Investment. No, I'm sorry. That's his OnPointe Partners. His firm is a commercial real estate investment advisory and consulting firm, but he co-hosts the Urban Real Estate Radio Show, and it's on the internet and on satellite radio. So, as you can tell, we're not a professional broadcasting team. That introduction.
Yeah, because he had to read all that. But I get to tell you about Dorian. He's a dear, dear friend of mine. He's just an awesome human being, solid as a rock. Went to Africa with me on our trip. I don't know, it was right before Christmas, and had those kids and the teenagers following him around like a Pied Piper. They just loved sitting at Dorian's feet and listening to the wisdom that was coming out of his mouth. That was that just very touching and just wonderful to experience that with him. And he's in a King City mastermind, which is a local mastermind that we're in, that is in place to keep businesses accountable to turning their businesses over to God. It's an awesome mastermind. But Dorian, welcome. We're really glad that you've agreed to come on with us and let us talk about you and what you do and how you're changing the community.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for the great words, Wendy. It's always a pleasure to talk with you and be in your presence, albeit by video, but nevertheless good to be here.
Well, we can't touch any right now because we're all being safe with the coronavirus, and we did swab down before we got together too. We really did.
We have some old Purell packets that have been hoarded since 2007.
And they still work.
Most of them were still damp.
That's right. That's right.
Absolutely.
But it's hard to find it. By the way, I didn't know this about you before, but I saw it in your bio that you went to Embry-Riddle. So
yes,
did you do any flying while you were there?
I didn't. I love Embry-Riddle, one, because I spent 9.5 years in the Air Force, aircraft maintenance.
Thank you for your service.
Thank you for the acknowledgement. But I love Embry-Riddle, got some great education in supply chain management and logistics.
We could use you now, right?
That's big business with all the e-commerce going on right now.
Yes, absolutely.
So tell us about what you're doing.
Yeah, well, I spent a number of years since 2005 in commercial real estate after an 18-year career in IT, and decided to shift to commercial real estate. But I developed commercial real estate. I am a consultant on projects, major development projects across the country. And I coach now. I've added coach as of September of last year. I started coaching, so super proud to be doing that now with a goal of training about 1,000 people in commercial real estate. And so either through who I train, but we're going to get to 1,000 one way or another, either through me training folks and them training other people, but that's the goal. So, and I put that, and I made that goal big. So hopefully the Lord will keep me here on earth for a long time. So,
that's right.
So you're using that NFL coaching tree model.
Yeah, absolutely.
That works out great. So I I know there's a lot of, and by the way, before I forget, anybody watching, if you have any questions, you can just post it inside. If you have any information, or if you're looking for information about us, we're at carolinahardmoney.com. Easily get a hold of us that way.
But if you post a question, we can answer it now.
That's right.
Dorian can answer it now. Yeah.
I'm sure the questions aren't going to be for us.
Yeah.
So
it might be.
Post any questions you have for Dorian live in there, and we can ask him while we have him on.
That's right. That's right.
So, or
you can leave a comment.
Boy, I just love the way this technology works, where stuff just shows up on the screen when I talk about it.
Like there's a ghost.
And no, there's nobody back there doing that for us. So
yeah, be sure to like and share and subscribe to the page, right?
Yeah. I'm going to have somebody in here holding up cue cards.
Yeah. We don't need to. They're right here.
So there's a lot of people that have, and we're part of that. We have just enough knowledge about the opportunity zones to be dangerous.
Yeah. Yeah.
Can you give us kind of a 30,000 foot view of what the opportunity zone is and how you can benefit from them and the community itself?
Yeah, well, the opportunity zone itself came from the Trump tax law of 2017. And what it did is it allows states to designate certain areas within their geographical regions, that areas that the states felt in a particular financial bracket or a area that was struggling. It allowed the state's governors to designate those areas as opportunity zones. And so what it allowed is for increased investments in those areas, as long as the investors kept their money in the project for a specific time. And so originally it started out at 5, 7, and 10 years. And of course, one of the major kind of deadlines to have investment done was 12/31/2019. Well, subsequent rules came out, and now there are a lot of opportunities or things you can, no pun intended, but a lot of ways you can invest in it, move money out of it in a certain amount of time by doing moving it to other investments. So, but the overall strategy was to improve those struggling communities by getting investment dollars into those communities. And so it's a great opportunity. However, what we see in some cases is those projects, still have to be underwritten by a bank. So they still have to make sense.
Right.
And what we've been seeing is you just couldn't make those projects make sense. And so it doesn't work usually on single family housing unless the investor is going to hold single family housing for a long period of time. So it limits it to certain projects in tough neighborhoods where the reason why you're investing is because it was difficult to make the projects work. But in some areas, we see there are very good projects. Some areas shouldn't have been designated opportunity zones. Frankly. So you see a little bit of everything there. But overall, it had good intention. I think you're going to see maybe after this current crisis, some adjustments to it so it makes better sense. I know it was some conversation, but it's kind of quiet now based on what's going on now. But a very good program. I still see great opportunities, and I tell you where the opportunities I see it is in affordable housing.
Right.
If you can go in and take a piece of land that may not even be zoned properly, to rezone it to multifamily use of some kind, and those types of things. I had one client, without naming where it was, but regionally, that decided to do, I think it was a total of 50 townhomes
Wow.
in a particular area where they're going to build them and hold on to them, and they become rental units. So it's not only apartments, but townhomes. But of course, you have to hold on to it for a period of time. At least the investment has to stay in it for a period of time.
Right. I think what a lot of people don't understand too is that you really have to have capital from a previous sale to invest in that opportunity zone fund to make it work in the first place, right?
Well, not necessarily. What we see is a lot of new money wanting to come in
Right.
and invest. But the problem is the new money, they may have liquidated some stock or something like that and may not even have experience in housing. So who are they to even trust? It's difficult for them in a lot of cases to trust, just putting their money into a project without having a relationship with someone that knows how to do it.
Right.
And so
right.
you have scared money, in other words.
That's
There's
right.
plenty of money out there, but it's scared money.
So Dorian, what got you into the commercial end to begin with? I mean, after coming out of IT, what is it that attracted you into the commercial side?
Well, I was at the time, I was after getting out of the military, I decided I wanted a 4-year degree, and I was an economics major. And so at the time, I was investing in residential real estate. So I employed a buy and hold strategy starting in '99, where I buy, rehab, and hold on to it. The problem is it got me into thinking, why do certain neighborhoods not have certain commercial real estate in it? And I didn't understand it. So I decided to take it as an elective, and the rest was history. I ended up changing my major in the business school to real estate, and then economics became my elective classes. And
Wow.
it just opened my eyes up to all the various opportunities around wealth and wealth building and commercial real estate.
Awesome. Now, are you more involved in multifamily type commercial? Are you doing storage facilities, strip centers, anything like that? Would tell us what your preferred type of commercial is and why.
Yeah, my preferred type is two areas now: small medical, and the other is last mile industrial, or industrial related to what Amazon is doing. Just the need of people needing goods expediently to their location. So last mile meaning that last delivery point from the Amazon, maybe Amazon warehouse. They don't necessarily store everything. It's a lot of things needed that Amazon don't do, like refrigeration and those types of things that we're seeing a huge growth in. And even more so now, it's important. We can't, I'm sure they can't even handle it right now.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. So those things, as well as medical, the smaller medical around urgent care and those things, I'm particularly have a focus around. One, because there's a need to move, more patients are looking at cheaper ways to do it rather than the hospital. And urgent care is absolutely a way to save money for the average person when it comes to medical now.
Right.
And a need for the hospital.
They're more of a single-use tenant though, right?
Yeah, most of the time they're a single use tenant, except for the industrial. They can be multiple use. But medical tends to be a single tenant. But the thing about it is you never see a medical center of any kind shutting down, just because it's just not going to happen. It's a convenience to the public as well. So.
Right. And then your last mile Amazon. I mean, being in this area, the Charlotte market, we've got such a great logistics community here, right? Mm-hmm. With the airport and the train station and the Port of Charleston being so close.
Yeah, and I had some conversations even this morning with local government economic development, and it's a huge amount of demand for industrial space right now here in Charlotte. Even the larger companies aren't able to find space. One, because industrial tends to be, or the requirement around it is that it be much cheaper but where you're having such a great market here in Charlotte and the region, that land is being taken up by other uses, whether it's apartment, well located retail. So it's pretty difficult now in the industrial sector here in the
They
area.
pushed it definitely out.
They
Well,
pushed it out.
Yeah.
I do see a little bit of opportunity with what's going on now with some of the retail space being redeveloped into more industrial warehouse in certain areas. You're going to always have markets that are going to be geared towards the retail because it's just well located in the highly traveled areas that you're not bringing trucks and stuff into. But there's also strip shopping centers and your big box stores that might be located out a little bit, and you still be able to pick that land up kind of cheap, and then maybe do a little bit of redevelopment to get it into. Now I know they need typically larger. They need taller buildings, so
Higher ceilings is what you're referring
pretty
to?
much
Okay.
because you need to be able to stack that stuff pretty high.
Yeah.
I'm assuming now.
And it depends on. There are certainly uses that doesn't need the height. I tell you, Bill, you hit on a good area there, which is repurposing that retail space into self-storage. Those types of things are hot opportunities, and I would say, since I do have an extensive background in retail, I would. Any projects that included an adaptive reuse, which that would be transforming that into self-storage, is something I would be absolutely interested in. One, because that space, you hit on a good point. You can do many things with it, not just self-storage. But
there's that Kmart on Cherry Road in Rock Hill.
Stop telling secrets. Stop telling secrets.
Every time I drive by there, I think, man, that'd make a great self-storage place.
Yeah.
Let's do that then. I'll look into it.
No, it's not a good spot. You don't want it.
Well, I know a couple of blocks from here, there's a big section of Rock Hill that was designated an opportunity zone. And so they just announced that there's a $44 million development in that space. And they're doing retail, they're doing restaurant, they're doing multifamily. So they're doing a whole mixed use complex inside of that. So they're going to be hanging on to that and leasing them out and keeping them for a while. And here's a little bit of a lesson about municipalities staying out of the real estate business. There was about 3.5 acres that the county here purchased in 2009, I believe it was. So they took it off the tax rolls and they just sold it to these same people that are developing it. And they made a whopping $600,000 profit from when they bought it in 2009.
Wow.
I think that's pretty good.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
600,000?
From 2009 to 2019.
I'd take
So
it.
10 years worth of appreciation and not on the tax rolls.
Oh,
yeah.
That's a problem.
Yeah, that's and that's another thing too, where I come in, and the reason why I do have extensive background with working with governments, just because of that. You need a solution where for profits can step in and not only give wise counsel, but help industry in making better decisions. Where the government does have an important place, and that's to facilitate, in my opinion, the connections.
Sure.
To kind of stay out. So because we want to make the best use of our tax dollars, right?
And make sure that they stay up with the infrastructure and provide the platform for the development, not be part of the development.
Absolutely.
Charlotte made that same mistake with the Eastland Mall property. They purchased it for a lot, and then they ended up just giving it away. Pretty much giving it away.
Yeah.
It usually is never a good thing when they're buying the property for future development for themselves.
Right.
So
So
leave
Dorian,
that to the private sector.
can anybody get into this? It just seems like such a big business to touch. Can anybody get into commercial real estate?
Yeah, the key is, and I put my link there. I coach folks in this, and the key to this is three things, and it's no different than any other real estate you get into. And the first one is you establish a team. Clearly, in commercial real estate, you don't go out as you can do in residential and buy a house and invest by yourself.
Right.
Commercial is all first about building a team, and you leverage those team members, whether they're attorneys, brokers, to be a part of your team to give you that advice. That's the first most critical thing, and it's about teaming. And so you bring in investors together. I equate it to being a project manager, where you're responsible for everything that goes on in that investment. The second one is to start small. There's no better way to learn, because the fundamentals are the same whether you're doing a $100 million project, $10 million project, or a $1 million project or less.
Right.
Start small, just as you would in anything that you do. Do that first project, and then it'll attract everything else, including investors.
Right.
And the last thing is mentorship. Far too many people, as I did, so I'm not just saying it, I spent a lot of years in this before I decided to get out and start doing it, taking advantage of the things that I knew I could have did years ago to move forward. But mentorship is so important, and that it keeps you on track and accountable.
Yeah, we all need people, for sounding boards. And someone to tell you that's a great idea, or that's just stupid.
Yeah, that's just, we've got a lot of people that'll tell us things that'll say that's the stupidest idea I've ever heard. And we appreciate it when they tell us that. Keeps us from making mistakes. But it's funny, the person that we've interviewed previously said the same thing, that it's all about community, having a brain trust, networking, making sure you have the right people around you. He said too that he wished that he had not done everything on his own, that he probably put his learning curve about 3 years longer because he tried to do it on his own instead of getting into a community or getting a mentor or a coach or somebody that could have really helped him get down that path.
Yeah, I agree. I did the very same thing, didn't approach it that way, but then now I got great mentors on all sides. So.
That's awesome.
So you have an event coming up soon?
Yeah, on June 5th, it's an event called Leverage Your Investment into commercial real estate, and CLT is for Charlotte. But it's on June 5th, and it's at the Crown Plaza here in Charlotte off of Tyvola Road. We're going to have various speakers talking about not only CRA, the Community Reinvestment Act, talking about 1031s, how to leverage or how 1031s work when it concerns real estate, no different than in commercial. Some personal finance we'll be talking about, opportunity zones, and also we're going to be talking a lot about taxes and how it impacts commercial real estate. And so
that's awesome.
Yeah,
that's awesome. Now, is it just 1 day or 3 days? How long is that?
Yes, it's a 1 day event. We meant for it to be a 1 day event, a couple of different sessions you can choose. And this is meant to grow, but we're going to start off with a very intense 1 day event from 8 o'clock to 5 o'clock.
That's awesome. And we did put up the link that shows how they can find more out about that.
Attend the tax, because we talk about this. It's not how much you make, it's what you keep.
That's right.
Taxes are understanding that is a great way to keeping what you make.
Yeah. Yeah, that's for sure.
Wendy and I would love to attend. Unfortunately, we're going to be in Boston that particular week.
Yeah, that's right. We
the
are
4th through the 7th.
That's right.
At a mastermind that we go to 3 times a year.
Now you do it. You're doing a group too. Is it every week that you're doing a breakfast meeting? Is it every other week? When are you doing that?
Yeah, every this Tuesday coming up, of course, it'll be virtual this week, but it's every 2nd and 4th Tuesday of the month at Carolina Prime here in Charlotte, North Carolina. And so it's on Woodlawn, but we do a 7 a.m. breakfast where we bring in speakers on various topics. So yes, we would love to have folks to sign up. The only cost is to buy breakfast. So
that's right. That's
show
a deal.
up and bring someone.
That's a deal. And they can find out about that with going on that workwithdorian.com.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes, you'll see it there. A better place to go to find out about that event is the Real Estate Wealth Generator.
Okay.
And so that has all of my events on it, but in particular this event. But it'll be online this time. So anywhere you go, you'll find the link. I'm gonna be broadcasting it starting in the morning, very heavily, the Zoom link. So we're gonna be virtual this time around, and probably for the next few weeks.
Yeah, I'm having to do the same thing with the Sunrisers group. And actually, I'm kind of excited about it because now I've got people all over the country that can come. Because when I speak all over the country, I tell them about it and they all say, oh, I wish I had a group like that here. And now they can do it. So I'm going to continue to do the live streaming. We'll start meeting in the restaurant when, they release us to do so. But I'm kind of excited that this has kind of forced us into doing some more live streaming and virtual meetings like that.
I'm looking for the smell-o-vision technology. So at least we can throw out the smell of breakfast while
Hopefully
we're broadcasting.
It's breakfast that we're smelling. He is my brother. I was thinking a little lower, but that's all right.
That was she's a
anyway.
lunch. So Dorian, we appreciate you spending this time with us today.
Thank you.
Thanks for having me.
I'm going to Scott, if you don't mind putting up the Everbright link up there for the event coming up in June. And I know it'll be a good one. I love the commercial real estate space. Before I let you go, do you see too many people investing in commercial real estate in an IRA, since there's so many tax advantages of having cash?
Absolutely. People invest in IRA is here's where you're going to see a big increase. One, because I think the knowledge is starting to get out there about commercial real estate. Most of the time, folks have been kind of utilizing IRAs to focus on their portfolios for residential. But there is a significant amount of investment, passive investment, that goes into commercial real estate from self-directed IRAs. And the other big portion is 1031s. But you're going to see an increase in it because now, just in the past few weeks, I talked to a few people yesterday that took a significant hit to their 401k. So they're looking how to take some money and invest in real estate. And so
that's right. And our
definitely going to see more of that. Yeah. Absolutely.
A lot of that. That's wonderful.
Yeah, I always try to tell people if they're investing with a tax deferred or a tax exempt account to do it in something that's not going to provide a tax benefit, and then to use your cash in the spaces that already allow for depreciation and other benefits. But there's nothing wrong with having real estate, owning real estate
in your IRA,
inside of an IRA. I'm just trying to get people
keep
as much of their money as possible.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that's exactly what you see. A lot of folks, they definitely have the cash and should keep it and utilize those things that they have other investments where they can move it and then go back and so that ends up building their retirement long term as well. So they never see it, never touch it, other than the statements to see what's going on. So absolutely great idea.
That's right.
Excellent. Well, listen, again, thank you so much for your time. And I know you're going to have a great event. Like I said, I wish we could attend, but we're going to be out of town at that time. But hopefully,
if they let us.
Well, hopefully by then, it won't be.
Yeah, that's for sure.
Dorian,
well, thanks for having me on. All right, you too, Bill.
Thank you.
All right.
Well,
by the way, folks, again, if you have any questions, you want to get some information from us, it's carolinahardmoney.com. And then if you want to check out Dorian's site, he's got DorianCarter.com, workwithdorian.com, and then I don't know what that's it,
realestatewealthgenerator.com. Yeah.
Excellent. Yeah. All right. So we'll see you guys next time. Thanks.
Thank you.
Take care.